Yep. Okay. Okay, welcome. My name is Brad Slauson. I am the president of the East Bethel Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank the candidates tonight for attending our East Bethel Meet the Candidate Forum hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. For those of you that were in attendance in 2020, you will recall we did this same thing then. That open forum or that Meet the Candidate forum was then posted on YouTube, as this one will be as well. That has since been the most watched YouTube that has ever been posted by your staff. So we'll fully expect that to happen again here tonight. The chamber has been approached to endorse candidates, and we have elected, as we always have, to not endorse candidates. However, we do endorse making sure that the public has knowledge on who to vote for, and we want to educate people on who you are. So tonight we have questions taken in, and what you have not been aware of the questions, and you'll have time to answer the questions. As we did a couple years ago, we would like the candidates to hold yourself in high regard. I don't want to go back 2 years ago and how it was in America, where some of the debates on national TV were not fun to watch. We'd like you to answer the question, be respectful of your opponent, refrain from sighing and rolling your eyes, and of course, having a debate between you two. This is just to meet the candidate, just answer the questions. You will have time to make an opening statement, and you will have time to make a closing statement. So I have prepared 8 questions, and depending on how long that they take, and how long I take now, will dictate if we get to all 8 or not. The chamber has 70 plus members in the Chamber of Commerce. We are an active chamber here. We partake in most things that happen here. We have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of employees in our chamber, and a lot of them live right here. So not only are we here on behalf of the businesses, but we're also here to educate our employees on who's running for office. You guys are both given the rules, correct, on how we're going to handle the program tonight. Is there any questions on the rules? Okay, we did do a private drawing in advance, and Mrs. Urkel will go first with her opening statement. And you have 2 minutes. How this will work is Wes will push a button and it will turn green, and that indicates for 2 minutes. It will turn orange when you have a half a minute, and it will turn red when you're supposed to stop. In addition to that, we'll hold up a yellow card that gives you another half a minute. You'll see that. It's more clear, and we'll hold up a large stop sign that says stop. And we would please appreciate just stopping, because everybody goes on for an extra minute or two. It'd be unfair to your opponent. So regardless of where you're at and your answer, we would ask for you just to stop. With me from the Chamber of Commerce is Wes Smack, our treasurer. Candy Weisenberger is our VP, and Randy Chumley is here as well, and he's on our board, excuse me. So with that, we're gonna give you your first 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for putting this on, Chamber of Commerce. I appreciate it. I've lived in East Bethel for 24 years. I'm a retired U.S. Army Master Sergeant. I was in the military for 21 years. I have a heart to serve our country and this city, which I love both. I have been married for 35 years. I have 2 adult children. I've been on the council for 1 term. I'm not a politician. But I see this council as lacking, or the city too, as lacking of a lot of common sense in many situations, which I think I could facilitate a change. I've been a liaison with the Planning Commission, the Parks Committee, Booster Days Committee, and the chair of Blaine Airport Commission. I've also was on the ISD 15 School Board for a term. I believe our residents are nickeled and dimed to death with taxes, fees, and other charges and that they should have more rights to their property and to do what they want as long as there's no safety issues in it. Um, and this might include omitting or modifying ordinances, or the council could even be more accommodating when it comes to some of the variances that have came up here. I'm a great listener, and I like bringing residents' issues to light up here. I ask a lot of questions, and I've been a lone voice in favor of residents very frequently, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Harrington.
I too would like to thank the chamber for putting this on, and I'd like to thank the residents for coming out tonight and trying to get the information you need. My opening statement, I'm Tim Harrington. I'm running for mayor for the city of East Bethel. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present myself to the chamber and answer any questions you may have regarding my record and what I hope to accomplish as your next mayor. I am an 18-year resident of the city. I have served on the city council for the past 8 years. I have made it a priority to sustain the proper balance of development and business promotion and retention while maintaining our rural character of the city outside the 65 corridor. I am a strong supporter of the chamber and their goals, an advocate of keeping expenditures in line with needs and not wants, and I'm an avid promoter of the city and its opportunity for business growth.
Thank you, Tim. Okay. First question is to Mrs. Urkel. What are your views on economic development and how do they relate to growth in the Highway 65 corridor?
I am pro-essential development on that 65 corridor. I think the council, the planning commission, and the city should be a little picky on which kind of businesses come in there. I think we are looking for more businesses that are restaurants and things for residents to do rather than factories and distribution center type businesses. But I am very pro-business development on that 65 corridor. I think it's very essential. I think it'll be a great tax base for the city. That's all I have.
Thank you. Tim, same question?
Unless the city continues its growth within the boundaries of the 65 corridor, stagnation will eventually occur and revenues for the city expenses will not keep up with the costs for city services. Economic development in a corridor is essential to maintain the growth required to keep the city prospering and meeting demands of our residents for the service that they need and expect. I support the higher density and commercial light industrial growth in the Highway 65 consistent with the city comprehensive plan. Make this abundantly clear, the comp plan guides all the high-density residential and commercial development within those designated corridors zones while maintaining the rural residential zone as a low-density semi-rural development.
Thank you. Next question, Tim, you're up first. Do you feel it's important to improve the internet service here in East Bethel, and do you believe this has become an essential service?
Yes, I support these improvements, but only if it can be paid by the users and of the servers that are benefiting from the benefiting properties. Internet service with dependable, adequate speeds has become an essential utility. The need for this service is essential to support work at home needs, educational opportunities, and to enable our citizens to stay abreast of all the communication technology in the 21st century. And that's all I have.
Susan.
I agree 100% with him. We all just voted for the study for the broadband, and we are still working on we got some grants in from Anoka County to promote it, and we've done surveys, and it's an ongoing thing. It's not something that can be done overnight, though. But I'm definitely in favor of it. Definitely think it's needed for work at home, for school, and for personal use, because a lot of people still don't have it.
Is that it?
That's all, yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, Susan, you're up first.
Okay.
What types of commercial businesses would you like to see locate in East Bethel, and would you support utility extensions to meet their needs?
I would love to see restaurants and other entertainment kind of things, a grocery store. Um, I would support some utility extension, providing the residents don't have to pay for it. Usage of it is, excuse me, let me rephrase that. So long as residents are not forced to hook up if they're in the path. I don't think that's fair to residents. I think it's way too expensive. But yes, that way I would support it. And we need a grocery store. We need some decent restaurants, family restaurants. We need places where youth can go for entertainment. So yes, those are the kind of businesses I'm looking for. Shopping. Definitely shopping. That's all.
Well, thank you. Tim?
My biggest one first is, everybody's been talking for 10 years is a grocery store. And then other basic businesses that would complement the needs for basic services are medical facilities, facilities that would include a minimum of pharmacy or drugstores or clinic, a dental office, fast food, personal service, and those types of retail that offer basic services.
We'll follow up a question. Tim, you'll go first. Being that you're both on council currently, what have you done to fulfill them goals while on council?
Well, I've worked with city staff here in promoting the city, you know, to try to bring new business, grocery stores and drug stores. You know, they put the calls out, you know, that's all I can do is go through the city and promote the city and help them promote the city.
Well, Susan, follow-up question, it's the same question. What have you done on the council to fulfill those goals you have to bring in new businesses to the city?
I have, I personally know a commercial equities broker, and he has been talking to all these stores and other places like that to try and convince them to move out here. So those are I've been talking to businesses, pretty much, that's it.
Okay, well, thank you. Tim, you're up first. The vision of the current administration is to develop the Highway 65 corridor and preserve the semi-rural environment of the city outside this area. Does this reflect your opinion? And if not, what would you do differently?
Could you repeat that, Pat, real quick?
The vision of the current administration is to develop the Highway 65 corridor and to preserve the semi-rural environment of the city outside this area. Does this reflect your opinion? If not, what would you do differently?
Thank you, Brad. My vision for development of the city, and the one that I have had since I've been a city council member since 2014, the Highway 65 corridor will develop regardless of what we do, but it is our duty to ensure that this development is controlled and guided to meet the needs of the city. The areas outside the corridor, which is 75% of the land area of the city, must remain rural residential. The existing pattern for low-density development and random distribution of approximately 11,000 acres of wetlands in those areas zoned rural residential make it economically unfeasible to extend water and sewer services to these areas.
Well, Susan, same question?
Repeat it, please.
The vision of the current administration is to develop the Highway 65 corridor and preserve the semi-rural environment of the city outside this area. Does this reflect your opinion? If not, what would you do differently?
Economically, yes, I'd like to see it developed. Residentially, some development, but the plans that I've seen for some of the development, I think is too congested. So I would disapprove that plan and have them resubmit something that's a little more spacious, more like golf course type homes and not high density. That's what I'm for.
Thank you. Well, Susan, you're up first. What do you see as the role in supporting and promoting businesses, and what would you do as a mayor to assist in those establishments?
Well, if the business required something, but personally, I think the government just needs to stay out of a business's way, and I think a business will thrive. That's my answer.
Thank you. Tim, same question.
I'm a strong supporter of our business community and the Chamber of Commerce. Our business sector is the lifeblood of the city. I support creating a positive, business-friendly environmental at the council level that will enable our local businesses to succeed. I support the city's efforts to minimize unnecessary restrictions on businesses and support the city's effort to promote and retain existing and attract new businesses.
Say that, Tim?
I'm done.
Well, thank you. Tim, you're up first. Tim, are you aware that you'll be required to attend at least 50 council meetings a year that require your attendance? In addition, there are special meetings, events, and other functions that may be necessary for your attendance. As a member of council, do you have the time and commitment to meet these expected obligations?
My past record speaks for itself. As a city council member, I have attended nearly every city event and function and can count on one hand the number of meetings I've missed. In the past 8 years, I've been elected to serve the people, and I am totally committing to representing the residents with my presence, attention, and participation at these meetings. Thank you.
Susan?
I've been on the council for 4 years, and I have not missed one council meeting in 4 years. I missed one work meeting because I had to take somebody to a hospital for an emergency. Other than that, I have not missed any meetings. I've scheduled my vacations around every event in the city that I had a desire to attend. That's all I have.
Thank you. Well, Susan, you're up first.
Sure.
Booster Days is an event dedicated to the residents of East Bethel. As a city council member or mayor, what do you believe your participation level should be? And what would you do to help build and reinforce the event to strengthen its place as the event of the city?
Well, as a council member, I was a liaison for the Booster Days, and I helped with whatever they asked me to help with. As mayor, I would support that and help promote it, and if they asked me for anything, I would go through, I don't want to say hell, but hell to get it for them. And that's all I can say. That's all I can do. Do everything in my power to get it done, whatever they need, because I think it's a very important, very fun event. That's all.
Tim?
I have served on the Booster Day Committee since 2015. I am totally support Booster Days as an event and its importance as a citywide celebration. Booster Days is officially run through the Booster Day Committee, which is a nonprofit volunteer group. The city currently budgets $6,500 for the Booster Day fireworks and provides staff support in the planning, setup, traffic control, and event maintenance staffing. I am committed to continuing our city efforts to assist the hardworking group of unpaid volunteers who produce the event to make it a marquee day for our residents. Thank you.
A question to add on to this. As a council member or mayor, would you support increasing those funds from $6,500? If currently Booster Days isn't as big as we want it, one way to increase that is more funds from East Bethel. Would you support that or not support that?
Am I up first on that?
Correct, because this question was you first.
I think it would depend on our budget and how much they needed and if they've exhausted all other means of getting the money, then I would support it.
Tim, the same question?
I'd have to agree with Suzanne. I would support it, but I want to see where our budget is. You know, we want to keep our levies as low as possible. I know it's a big day for our residents, but if it's possible, I would like to increase the funds. I know we give money through the Chamber Golf Tournament. It's not a lot, but that helps out a little bit. But I just want to see where we are in the budget. I mean, people here are sick of the levies, and that's our job up here. Keep the levies low, so we'll see where it goes.
Thank you. Tim, you're up first. If you are active on posting on Facebook or other means, or posts regarding issues that pertain to your job, do your posts just reflect your opinion, or do you research information and ensure that your statements are factual and accurate?
I always support fact checks in any social media post. Too many times, posts only reflect statements that support their own agendas and omit the facts that do not authenticate the argument. My posts and accounts of events are factual and checked accurately. I will always present the truth, and there will be no spin in any way of my communications.
Well, Susan, same question.
My posts are accurate. They are sometimes my opinion. It depends on what the situation is. I've posted my opinion and I've posted facts, so it kind of depends on the question that's being asked. That's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you. We are ahead of schedule, and I would entertain taking a couple questions from the audience. A little off script, I'm okay with that. Does anybody have a question that they would like to approach the podium? The question, we'd ask for your name, your address, like you would be required to give at a council meeting, and then you'd be able to ask that question. Does anybody have a question? Come on up, sir. I didn't see him, okay? Come on up, sir. Start your name and your address, and then ask the question.
My name's Jeff Fry. Address is 1635 207th Lane Northeast. I know you said that you would encourage medical facilities. Right now, we have one medical facility that I don't know how many millions of dollars it took to get it going and get it put in process, but is not open and is not having anything done with it. Brand new building sitting there and nothing's going on with it. How do you handle a situation like that?
If a building's sitting empty, or
We've
the medical building
we've already got one sitting empty, a medical facility.
in East
Which-
Bethel,
In East
Cambia.
Bethel, which is a treatment center, which is down
Cambia.
behind, right next to the, Our Savior's Lutheran Church. So I'm wondering how the city council's planning, if you both were mayor, how's the city council plan on handling that situation where we're building these buildings and nothing's happening with them? That's all I got.
well, I think that the building you're talking about, Cambia Hills, is a kind of a different situation. There was things that the state was supposed to get involved, and they didn't get involved, and they were supposed to get involved. So I don't think that has anything to really do with the city. I mean, we can actively promote the place. If there's anybody that's looking to buy it, we can help them as much as we can. But as far as anything else, I don't know. That's a state-run building, so the city can do whatever they can to help them out.
With Susan?
This is going to take some time. That building is in receivership. There are hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits against that person, and we can't really do anything until all that legal stuff is settled. Once it's done, it might take this whole mayoral term. So therefore, once it's finished, then we can promote it. I would love to see it open and but with somebody who has a good history, a good reputation of running a business like that, not somebody who, and we have to be more careful on who we give money to.
Thank you. Sir? Please ask the question in a question form.
Dusty Johnson, Okinawa Street, East Bethel. I have one question. I'm gonna try not to make this sound smirky. With government thinking that they can run my life better than I can, how are you as mayor prepared to limit the scope of city government overreach?
That question goes to Susan first. No, excuse me. Yes, you went first last time. Susan, you're up.
My plan is to limit government overreach, limit it in the lives of business owners, limit it by omitting or reducing ordinance regulations, because that's where the overreach is coming. It seems like there's no common sense. If something is written as a rule, the city is taking it literally and not giving residents any leeway. And I just don't think it's the right way to do things. I think every situation should be considered on a situation-by-situation basis. That's my answer.
Tim?
I agree with some of Suzanne's. I think we can, do some ordinance changes, kind of keep government out of people's lives. I mean, I don't think the city myself is in too many people's lives right now. So, I mean, I really don't have an issue with anything, so that's my answer.
A follow-up question on that, being you're both on council and have been on council, what have you done in your past terms to prevent from overreach from East Bethel City Council? Susan?
I have brought up 3 ordinances I tried to get changed, and each time I was a single vote. I was, if it even got seconded, the 5-car rule, the fence rule, and I think the chicken rule, and I was voted down every single time, 4-1.
Tim?
I think every ordinance that I have voted on is benefit to the city. I can't give you examples, but I don't think there's any ordinance, that is out of line, so.
Okay, we are going to go into closing statements. Suzanne went first in her opening statement, so Tim, you'll go first in your closing statement.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting on this event. And I want to thank the residents for attending, taking time out of your night. In my closing statement, I'd like to thank you for allowing me as your guest and share my visions for the city as your mayor. I will remain focused on listening to residents and businesses and working to resolve any concerns with common sense solutions. I stand on my record of financial stewardship and will continue to work to retain and attract development in the Highway 65 corridor that is compatible with the city needs. I look forward to continue representing East Bethel as your mayor, and I am requesting your support and vote November 8th. Thank you.
Suzanne?
Thank you. I have 3 main points why you should vote for me. Responsible financial management. Because of my our levy is going to only be 0.9%, which I disagree with. I disagree with any levies unless the residents vote for it. But had it not been for me talking down the rest of the council, it would be 5 to 7% right now in some of the negotiations that we were doing. I don't think levies should be an automatic part of the budget process. I think the budget should happen, and if there's an urgent need, then we should go out for a levy. I believe in property rights. Businesses have been shut down in this city again, I was the only vote on to try to save them. Their lives were altered forever. Variances were denied in a lot of cases, and I think common sense was not in play there. I'm in favor of essential business development. I know we need a grocery store and restaurants, and that has been an endeavor we have all been working on. It's going to take a combined effort to make changes the residents expressed a desire for in the city. I'm voting for myself, and I hope you will too. Public safety, roads, parks, that's the job of the city, not messing with your property. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. And just so the record's clear, we do have a third candidate running for mayor, Randy Bethel, who could not attend tonight as she is on a family vacation. This meeting was originally scheduled for a different date that she said she could attend, but she could not reschedule this meeting for around her family vacation. She did offer to attend via some type of internet connection, and meeting with staff here didn't feel that that was going to be a secure and it made it flow fine for her. So then that just did not happen. But there is a third candidate that is running for office as well. Well, thank you for your time on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, and I appreciate you attending here tonight.
So
Thank you.
neither one of us knew these questions beforehand? Because how was his reading the answers? I don't
I don't know
understand.
if he came in just different prepared on other questions too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we have, what, 25 minutes or so to reset. Well, welcome. My name is Brad Slauson. I'm the president of the East Bethel Chamber of Commerce, and I appreciate your attendance here tonight in the Meet the Candidate Forum. We did this a couple of years ago in 2020 as well. At the conclusion of that meeting and conclusion of this meeting, this will be posted live on YouTube. I'm happy and proud to say that the last YouTube posting from the first Meet the Candidates 2 years ago was the most viewed posting that's ever came out in this city. So I'm telling you is a lot of people, a lot of voters will be afforded the opportunity to educate themselves on if they should vote for you or not. So please conduct yourself in a manner today that reflects a state-like position. Meaning a couple years ago, it wasn't too uncommon for us to turn on the national TV and see lots of back and forth debates, yelling and shouting, things of that nature. That's not what we're here for today. We're gonna have a question for you. You're gonna have 2 minutes to answer that, and then we will move on. If there is a follow-up question, you'll be asked by me. You will have I have help here with this little light that will go off when your 2 minutes starts, and then it will turn yellow when you have a half a minute, and then we'll hold up a placard that says stop. In addition to that, Wes will hold up a yellow piece of paper that says you have a half a minute. He'll hold up this card here, Wes, that says, no, the stop sign that says stop when we're asking you to stop. And please stop at the appropriate time. If everybody takes an extra minute or two, that'd be unfair to the candidates. The Chamber of Commerce represents about 69 companies or so within East Bethel. We have hundreds to thousands of employees. A large share of them live right here in East Bethel. So we are here on their behalf. We are here on behalf of the residents, and there's a lot of residents here tonight. It's a very well-attended meeting. So we're happy to chair this. We're happy to be a part of this, and we want to make sure that every candidate has the ability to get out their message. The chamber was approached to endorse candidates. We as a chamber decided against that. But one thing we do endorse is voter education. And that's why we're here tonight. So the chamber will not be making an endorsement, but we, again, do endorse people's right to vote and people's right to educate themselves. Did everybody today get a copy of the rules? Well, good, because they're about to change. So tonight, I had some prepared questions for you, and we've decided to change the agenda here just a few minutes ago. The questions are all going to come from the residents. I may, in addition, ask a few questions as well, depending on how many questions that they have. I've asked the residents to ask their questions in a question format. Like them, none of us are elected officials, and we don't do this for a living. So if their question isn't in a question format, ask them nicely to rephrase the question without argument and without being upset, and I can jump in as well. Does that make sense? Audience, does this make sense to you? Yeah. Okay, so with that, we did have a drawing in advance. Mark's name was drawn first, so he'll go first tonight in an opening statement. And then tonight at the end, Tanner will go first in a closing statement. The first question tonight will go to Mark, and additional questions will work right down the line. So you'll have a 2-minute opening statement, and that starts now with Mark.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Duchesne. I've lived in the city since 2003 with my family of 4, my wife and 2 kids, myself, obviously. I've been a member of the East Bethel Fire Department since 2003. I've been a firefighter for 23 years. And as I get close to the end of my volunteer career ending, I thought I would move into public service from public safety. East Bethel's a good city. I think we just need new people looking at new different ideas and ways that the city can move forward. Thank you.
Next, Tim.
Hi, my name is Tim Miller. My wife and I have moved here to East Bethel approximately 11 years ago with our family. I've got a business background as an entrepreneur for the first 15 or so years of my life, so I've done quite a few hats when it comes to businesses, from risk to administrator to organizer. Moved into real estate, had a pretty good run in real estate till 2004, 2005 when things went south, and people know. I enjoyed working with RE/MAX, a couple local builders. We worked in developments here in the North Metro and over near Big Lake. I've got a passion for hunting, fishing. Best move my wife and I ever made was to move here to East Bethel. There's a reason it's special. There's a reason I want to keep it special. Is it going to be easy? I don't think so. I think we've got a lot of work ahead of us in order to protect and preserve what we have. But I think it's doable. I think with a lot of citizen input and listening, things can get accomplished. I believe my past business experience in both with businesses and real estate gives us an opportunity to do things in a different manner and look at things in a different way. And I'd like to be a part of a team that brings a different change here to this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Wanda?
Good evening, everyone. My fellow candidates, the East Bethel Chamber, Mayor Voss, Councilmember Mundell, those of you in our live audience here, and those of you from the comfort of your home. I'm Wanda McLaurin, and I'm running in this special election. Why the special election? East Bethel had a council member resign at the end of last year. I was honored to be appointed to her seat, but the seat only lasts until this election cycle. So as of November 8th, I am out of a job unless I get reelected. I want to finish what I started by serving the remaining 2 years of the term I was appointed to. East Bethel council members usually serve 4 years. I understand now why. Your first year is learning What does the city do? What regulations do I need to meet? What are the ordinances? How is the city budget financed? What Met Council state and city regulations do we have to follow? And doing tons of research. You do tons of research so that when you're sitting up here, you know what you're talking about. You get early materials, but there's still a lot. You drive by to see properties, you talk to people, figure out what needs to be done. The first year, once the first year is done, the remaining years are when you can really start to work on your objectives and give you the opportunity to put your ideas forward. You now have the knowledge and experience. I believe my objectives are achievable. They're based on keeping rural, Highway 65 corridor, and attracting development, but the right kind of development. By human nature, we're not all ever going to agree with each other. The issues we need to deal with are going to be solved by listening to our residents and encouraging the involvement. I believe I can be the positive voice for that. Thank you for the opportunity and for being part of this forum.
Kevin?
Thank you, Brad. My name's Kevin Lewis. My wife Linda and I have lived on the south shore of the eastern half of Coon Lake for about 26 and a half years, and we finished raising our adult children here. I'm retired after an extensive business background, international as well as domestic, and I know that East Bethel is a wonderful place to live with really great people, and we all want it to continue to be that way. And I also know that change is inevitable. If the one constant is change, right? So what's important is that the people who pay the bills have the majority voice in how that change is going to be shaped, whether it's bringing business or residential developments, what have you. And so that's why I felt like it was my turn to get on the city council and contribute to the dialogue and just try to make East Bethel continue to be a great place to live. That's it.
Jim?
Hi, thanks for coming. My name is Jim Smith. I've been on the Planning Commission, the Roads Commission, and I've had a lot to do with the city. Since 2016, actually, we had CST. A lot of you are aware of who that was. Tried to move in that mulch company behind Cooper's Corner. And the reason I'm getting involved here is because I've been almost every council meeting or planning meeting since that time because of decisions that would have been made by the council that would have destroyed the north end of East Bethel. But with research and a lot of good people that I met at the time, we won, and they're not there. They could be anywhere else, but that was not the right place. And I bought my first property here in 1978, built my first home here in '89, been in and out of the city since then. But I care about East Bethel, and I see things that are happening with the council meetings and stuff that I don't agree with, and I think that I can really have good input to help. And the controlled spending, excuse me, is what bothers me. And that's money that comes out of our pockets. And we all work hard, and I don't want to see that money wasted. In my opinion, I see that happening. So I will do the best I can for you and listen to what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Good evening, folks. I'm Ram. I'm new to the city. I moved in here about maybe a year ago with my family. I'm running for city council. I want to see some changes. I'm a different face. I'm young. I'm out of the city. Lived in Brooklyn Park when I moved here from South America. Pretty much for me, I'm a no BS kind of person. I don't think I can actually say the full words, but you guys can figure out what I'm trying to say. I shoot straight from the hip, tell it the way it is. I'm more of for the people other than for myself or for anything else. So I'll be up front. If it takes 5 people to get mad, but 500 other people get happy about something very small, the 5 people, you just gotta understand, it's nothing personal. It's what's best for all of us. It's not just what's best for you, what's best for me. It's not just for me. It's for everybody. And I had a very small victory. It ain't even a victory at that. Down on my street where I live, people are flying down the street, called up the city, complained, talked to Jim. He put a sign out there, or Jack put a sign out there, and Before you know it, today I get a phone call from Jack, hey, there's a permanent 30-mile-an-hour sign that the city council approved. So thank you guys for approving that, appreciate it. I know some folks down my street appreciate that. I want to focus more on the youth, the younger generation that's growing up. Some of you folks out here has been living here for a long time. Let's preserve that stuff for the younger ones. Let's go ahead and help them evolve into something better. I do a lot of outreach with youths. I want to do the same thing up here. I want to bring some programs up here. So I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Tanner?
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for everybody for attending tonight. My name is Tanner Belfany. I've been a resident of East Bethel since 2007. I moved my wife and 3 stepchildren up here in 2017, 2018. In my time here, I've spent the better part of the last 12, 13 years on planning and zoning, as well as some other various boards and committees. I have a passion for East Bethel. The one thing I can say in my time here, looking back, one thing I've always tried to take the same approach whenever we had anything come across our desk, computer or up front here, or residents during any of our meetings. I've always tried to be welcoming, open-minded, understanding, and whether that was for ordinance changes, variances, development, which is always important this time in the city. We've had a number of changes over the years, and again, I want to bring that next step to City Council, of, again, continuing to leave that welcoming approach to any development, residents, changes. That way we can be able to listen to our residents and still be able to move forward in our community with the same rural approach and feel, while still being able to conduct business in the highway corridor area. And with that, I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner. So as we heard tonight, we have a number of elections happening here on the dais. We have a special election with Wanda and Kevin that lasts for 1 year, and then the other board members have a 4-year election. We'll ask the same questions for all of you, but for the voters, just know 2 of you is for a 1-year term. Okay, first question. Sir, to state your name and ask your question. Thank you.
Eldon Holmes, I'd like each one of you to figure out the top 2 objectives you'd like to pursue if you make the city council, and why.
First question goes to Mark. Please list your top 2 objectives and why.
Well, I think number 1 has to be development. The more development you have, whether it be commercial or residential, they both benefit from each other. Residential, the more residential development you have, there's a better chance you're going to get more commercial development. Some companies don't look at you, they look at rooftops. They count the number of rooftops and go, well, no, there's not that many there, we're going to move on. So they kind of go hand in hand. You may not want the development that you're seeing right now as far as residential goes. You want more commercial, but the more residential you get, the better chance you're going to end up with better commercial development. Number 2, I would say my top priority would just be fine-tuning how the city is moving forward. What's our 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan? And it doesn't necessarily have to be for the whole city. We can pick an area or divvy up each area and have a different 5, 10, 20-year plan for that area. But as long as we have a plan to move forward, something down that gives us a goal to reach, it's going to change. That's without a doubt, because you might have a plan for 22 and 65, and something comes up for Sims and 65. Just something goals for the city to move forward. Those would be my top 2 priorities. Thank you.
Tim, same question.
I think right out of the gate, we need what I would consider transparency and accountability to be a major focus. You can say you have transparency and list a total for a project, but without honesty along with that, you're going to need that which lists every item that was spent. those also are good starting points, but you have to have also integrity. So basically, that transparency isn't translucent. We have the information we need to make solid decisions. The residents are making the decisions. That leads to accountability. Accountability nowadays is like common sense. You don't find it anywhere. It starts first and foremost. I don't care what project you're going to work on, what plan you have. If you're not 100% transparent to the city's residents, you're not going to have any trust, and you're not going to have any accountability, and I don't think you're going to have any growth in the future without people being very upset. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Wanda?
My two objectives kind of go hand in hand. The first objective is I'd still like to keep our tax base and our levies as low as we possibly can. But in doing that, we need a long-term plan looking at some of our infrastructure, such as broadband. In order, everybody in this room probably would prefer faster broadband service, faster internet service. Some of you probably don't even have it. And if we're going to do that, it is going to require some investment. And so we need to take a look at long-term investments and figure those out, put them in a budget, and continue to be fiscally responsible to our citizens.
Kevin?
It's an interesting thing. People talk about plans. It really comes down to who's doing the plans. Are the plans for East Bethel done by the Metropolitan Council, who are unelected, unaccountable to any of us, and they don't pay the taxes here? Or do we develop the plans? That's an important distinction. And building on what Tim said, I'm going to bring up a third rail type issue. In my experience of the people in this town, there's been a break in the trust between the people of East Bethel and the government of East Bethel. And it goes back 12 years. It goes back to that, all those meetings about the sewer system, and I was at 2 of them, and it was universally rejected by everybody at those meetings, and they went ahead with it anyway. And they indebted us greatly. $22 million we owe between now and 2040 due to that project. And that broke the trust in a lot of people that I know. We have to build that back, transparency, honesty, and we have to solicit the taxpayers' input. Not that you have leaders, people in leadership positions to take the bull by the horns. Okay, I get it. But you have to have the solicited input of the people who are actually paying the bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Jim?
My 2 things would be, first, I see wasteful spending, in my opinion. I look at the monthly bills, and it just blows me away. I mean, there's a lot of months, it's like over $200,000. And if you start looking through them, there's so many that look the same. I mean, I don't have the right, oh, I guess I do have the right, I could question it and sit in Jack's office all day. But I feel that I can do more up here. Once you elect me, then I have more say-so on it. But it's scary that we only have like 12,000 plus residents, and we got bills over a couple $100,000 a month. So that really needs to be controlled. There's needs and wants, and I see a lot of wants, and we can't have that. I mean, when we need things, we need things. And second is honesty. I've talked to a lot of people, and frankly, they just don't trust the city at all. You try to have a conversation with them, and they're like, that's a waste of time. And that's sad. To me, it's really sad. Because if you can't believe your elected officials and your city, you really don't have nothing. And a lot of people, they don't want to get involved. And I understand that. It takes a lot of time. Like with me, it's like, it's a lot of time, but I tell you what, I will do it if you elect me. Because I won't lie, I won't hide stuff either. So that's my 2 objectives.
Thank you, Jim. Ram?
So I think for me, I obviously haven't lived in the city as long as these guys have, but For me, I want to focus on the youth. I want to get some more youth programs up so we can get these kids someplace to go, someplace to vent, you know, someplace to get new ideas, better ideas. That and more so just the second thing is just listen to you guys. Like, what do you guys want to see? You know, I want to focus more on the youth and the safety. You know, safety for me is a big thing. That's, you know, the spending part, all that. Yeah, that's money. Is it going to benefit everybody? Is it going to benefit one person? Do you guys feel everybody's lying? Because if that's how you guys are feeling, you guys need to come up and speak that. And I'm the one person you guys can always come to and tell me, hey, yeah, I think you're full of crap. Okay, thanks, I appreciate it. What else you got concerned about? You know, whether you got something negative to say about Tanner next to me, come to me and tell me that, or go to him and tell him that. We're all growing. We all can speak our piece and hold each other accountable. So you guys elect us. This is our job to make sure we make your heads held high instead of putting it back down. So for me, build trust in the community. Second.
Thank you, Rand. Tanner?
Thank you, Brad. The two major focuses, I guess I view for the city would, first and foremost, would be development. Development is an important part, and as you've heard some of my counterparts up here tonight talk about change, and that kind of goes hand in hand with the second piece that I also would like to focus on, and that is clear communication, especially with the residents. But I think it needs to be done in a positive manner, as well as development needs to be done in a clear, concise way that still fits the profile of East Bethel, which has been rural feel. But we're in a changing world. There is new types of businesses. There is an asset that is Highway 65, and we'd be remiss if we didn't take full advantage of it. You know, another counterpart up here tonight has brought up, you know, the city sewer water project, and as contentious as that was 12 years ago, the reality is it's here today. And what are we doing to make it a positive asset? And one of the things we've worked on in planning and zoning, as well as with City Council, Economic Development Authority, you know, we are residents up here. This isn't us against you. We're elected residents. We are here to help be your voice. You should be talking to us, telling us what you think, what you feel, so we can reflect that in our meetings up here, whether it's on City Council, planning and zoning, any of them. But again, I want to do it in a positive manner. It really should not have to there shouldn't have to be a City Council meeting where they've talked about something, or a work group meeting, and it's very clear, it's televised, and it's talked about, and the next day you're on the street and you're hearing the exact opposite story. So if you have questions, and I'll reiterate some of the comments that I've had from my counterparts up here tonight, bring it to our attention, talk to us, but let's make sure we're having it in a good dialogue where we can all understand and respect whether we agree or disagree, but have an open mind in that communication. So again, development in the right ways, in the right areas, at the right time, and clear communication, but I also will put it on the residents as well. Have the communication back and forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner. Next question?
Thank you. Karen Kreppus on Gopher Drive. So after hearing opening statements, I'm not really sure that all of you really clearly understand what is the role of City Council. So my question is, what is the role of City Council, and why are you qualified to be the right candidate? Thank you.
Tim Miller, you're first.
Role of city council, to me, would be a liaison between the citizens and the decisions that are made. I think it's an important position that one must keep the citizens up front and foremost at all times with no personal agendas. It's got to be nonpartisan. It's got to be fair. It's got to be open. It's got to be somewhere that the residents have to know they can almost vent to, they can complain to, they can talk to, they can make compliments about. In order to be a good city council member, I believe that the council needs to want to listen to what the citizens have to say. At the same time, it has to have a relationship where the citizens want to listen to you also and what you have to say. Because you're technically going to be the voice of those people and should be. Without that, I think city council is falling way short. I think the transparency, the honesty, the integrity, the ability to communicate and be better at communicating as we move forward is going to be key. And I think that's what a city council member should be. Should be accountable for what they say in this meeting, and they should be accountable to the people who are saying it to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Wanda?
Being a city council person is an honor, but it is also a lot of work. As a city council person, you're not only responsible to the citizens, but you're responsible to the rules and regulations and ordinances and all of the things that the county puts on you, unfortunately Met Council puts on you, the city old ordinances put on you. You have to find this balance and walk this balance between what the citizens may want and what you can do. You have to take everything into account and put it together. I may want this, Tanner may want that, Mark may want that, but you have to figure out a way how to make all of that work. You're almost like a trapeze artist, balancing your way through and trying to make the best decisions, the most honest decisions, and sticking with your integrity. You have to stay true to yourself. If you're not true to yourself, you can't be true to your citizens.
Thank you. Kevin?
I'm reminded how Abraham Lincoln typically signed letters, "Your humble servant." If you're on the city council, you serve the citizens of East Bethel. That's who your bosses are. You're their representative when it comes to putting things into law. You're supposed to be a listening post for them. And that's what the role, it's not up us here dictating to you. It's supposed to be vice versa, really. And I think there's been some confusion about that in the past number of years. I'd like to see that bolstered back to the way it was. And a starting point, you know where I got started recently getting involved with government? Is I really believe that the public forums should be the same length they used to be, and they should be broadcast like they used to be broadcast. I said, well, it allows people in the community to know what's on the mind of other people in the community. And that's where I started. That's how I wound up here. You know, so she asked me, well, why don't you run? And I said, okay, you know, fine. You know, and it was that simple. But I have a real belief that a servant government is how our system of government is supposed to run. It doesn't mean you're just a floor mat for people. You're allowed to have opinions, but we serve you. You know, we're just tools for you to use to get things done. That's about it.
Thank you, Kevin. Jim?
In my opinion, a good council person is a person that listens to the residents, because like you've heard up here, we're here to serve you and your needs and try to make an educated decision on it. Plus, we have to have common sense when we're doing it. And also, we have to work together as a council to come up with a solution if there's an issue. But it's important to me that we don't play games with people and talk to and zero out people, which I've heard on different incidents, and you gotta be fair with everybody. There's always a solution to every problem. So you gotta be honest about it too. And I'll tell you what, I won't lie to any of you, because I don't do that. You might not wanna hear what I say, but it will be the truth. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll admit to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ram?
For me, it's listening to what you guys want. It's all your needs. It's nothing about me. It's nothing about anybody else on the city council. It's all about what your complaints are, what you guys want us to fix. We're here to serve you guys like everybody else has uttered up here. A lot of these answers are going to be repeat answers. Everybody's going to have the same thing to say. We're all here for you guys. We want to make sure you guys know that. I'm here for you. Hell, I'm not here for myself, that's for sure. I don't care about the money. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is making sure I'm happy, you guys are happy. If you guys are happy, everybody else on the city council will be happy too, because that's less people you got to listen to complain about something or go over the same thing over and over. It's just a circle. Knock off the circle, break the circle someplace, come out, say what you gotta say. So that's what city council is ears to listen to what you guys need and communication from us to you. So hold us accountable. If we screw up, say, hey, you screwed up. Hold us accountable just like, we want to hold you guys accountable for things that you do with all the laws, the bylaws, the city ordinance and codes. Yeah, we're going to hold you accountable. Turn around and do the same thing to us. You can do that to me at any point in time. So thank you.
Thank you. Tanner?
My impression of what the role of a city council member is to be, we work at the behest of the residents. That's sentiment's been echoed, I think, by everyone up here, and I'm glad to hear that out of everyone, because that is the role, is to work at the behest of the residents, since we are residents as well. And with that, I'm going to echo a little bit on some of Wanda's statements. That although there are many things that you may have personal issues and agendas and wants and needs for the residents and for the city, we also do need to manage that very tight rope of trying to decide what's allowable within what we're currently allowed to do versus what we're not allowed to do. And if there is a problem with it, how we can go about making it a change and making it in a positive manner for the city. In addition to that, I think the second part of the question was also why we feel we were qualified for the position. I do feel that my tenure here in the city since 2009, again, between the roads committee, a large majority of my time on planning and zoning, as well as power line transmission groups, website committees, watershed districts, amongst numerous late evenings, even when power's been lost and we're working under the emergency lights here. I have a passion for this city. I want to see it developed in the right way, like I said, in the right places, so I can help provide a great place for my children and your children to live, and we can continue to keep living the way we have been while still enjoying the accommodations of today's world. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
All right. Basically, I think it's a balancing act. You guys entrust us to steward the city with your money. Obviously, we can't give everybody perfect roads. It's a balancing act. There's 5 people up here. We all have to get along. We have to work together to do what's best for the city. We're not going to make everybody happy, but we're going to do the best we can. And treating everybody fairly, treating everybody the same, whether it's a big commercial business or a resident that wants a variance, the process should be the same and transparent for everybody. The more you treat everybody the same, there's less hassle of anybody accusing the city of doing anything wrong. If we do that across the board, we shouldn't have any problems. I feel I'm a good candidate. I've worked with engineers, zoning, code enforcement, public safety. It's not just plow trucks, fire trucks. There's more to a city than just those things. Thank you.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Dusty. Thanks, guys, for being here. I hear a lot, or a few people up here, talk about growth and development. I moved here to get away from growth and development. That's why I moved 40 minutes from the city. So I'm curious, since some parts of government seem to have a limitless budget, what could you do with the current budget to cut some of the fat? What areas could you what are some of the areas that you could cut out of the budget so you didn't have to have massive growth and development in the country? Thank you.
So is the question, what could you do within the budget and still have growth without expanding the budget?
Okay, so my question is, what could we do with our current budget to cut some of the fat? What are the areas in the current budget that we have right now to where government cannot have any money unless they take it from somebody else first? So how could you utilize my money wiser on the current budget? What are some of the areas that you would like to work on so we didn't have to have massive growth and development because we live in the country. Is that fair? Thank you.
So what would you do with the current budget, and how would you handle those funds? Either by cutting current projects or building within the budget? First question is Wanda. Our next question is Wanda.
All right. I am the only member up here that is currently on city council, and I worked on the last year's budget. Actually, the last 2 years, because I was on planning before that. I don't see a lot of waste in our budget. In fact, I don't see much waste in our budget, and I think we do a really good job. We've kept our levies at 2% for almost the last 8 years. This year, it'll be lower than that. We work within what we have, and quite frankly, the city budget is working the way it is now, and development really doesn't tie to that. We're not asking for development to run the city budget. We need development to get things that our residents want. Our residents ask for retail, our residents ask for restaurants, our residents ask for things. That is development, and it's going to take households to make that work. I really don't know where the fat is in the budget, Dusty.
Thank you, Wanda. Well, Kevin, same question.
Which question was that?
The question is,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
kidding,
really
I'm
hard.
kidding. I'm kidding. When you're going to spend people's money, you have an obligation to do something which in business is called due diligence. A perfect example is that Cambia thing, the youth, mental health and drug addiction, the thing that went belly up. It took me about 10 minutes of looking online to see what the history of the parent company was and why they were having problems getting money out of the state of Minnesota. It's because of their own history. Before we do tax increment financing, before we do bonding for people, besides not just getting the horse before the cart before the horses, you have to do due diligence on who you're dealing with, because anybody who can get free money is going to line up for it. That is a guaranteed deal. As far as the fat in the budget, I thought the city council did a pretty good job holding the line this year on the budget. It was still a 3% increase in payroll, and I posted some East Bethel fun facts. I called them on Facebook. And one of the things that we can look at is Ham Lake, just to our south. They're 38% larger than we are in terms of population, and our budget is 21% greater than theirs in this year. Okay, that suggests that we could tighten it up a little bit. Okay, so I'll accept that. But they did a pretty good job this year holding the line. The other problem is, of course, the outstanding debt. This year's was $905,000 in debt service for those sewer bonds, sewer and water bonds. This coming next year, 2023, it'll be $945,000. After that, it goes over into the millions.
Thank you, Kevin. Jim?
My thought is, I don't have anything to do with the budget at this point, but I have my own business that I run, and just what I see that goes on with, like I said before, wants and needs, I see there's wants that happen that should be looked into more. Like, just for an example, we just bought a boat, a rescue boat for the fire department, and last year, the fire chief came and asked to sell the boat that they had before that was there for 20 years plus and never used, and was taking up space in the fire department. And then like a month ago or whatever, they came back and said now they need a rescue boat. Well, they approved $30,000 for that. In my opinion, that was needed. Anoka County Sheriff's Department has 6 rescue boats, and they have an airboat. So, in my opinion, East Bethel didn't need a boat when they didn't use the one they had before. So, I mean, it's stuff like that that I see. Having my own business, I don't waste money, and I would not waste the taxpayers' money either. Everything has to be looked at, and there's ways to cut things, but they say there isn't, but there is. Because, like I said, there's a lot of wants and needs, and they're doing a lot of wants, in my opinion. So, that's how I would do it.
Thank you, Jim. Ram?
Man, I'll tell you what, you definitely make me question moving into the city now with all this money stuff that's going on. Because I like money. I'm Indian, I'm cheap. I like a good deal. You know, the way city works, and I've worked for the state for about 4.5, 5 years, anytime there's money that's involved and purchasing things, prices are going up. Thank COVID for that, thank everything else. We already know cost of gas, cost all that, fuel for all the trucks, the idling time, this building, to heat this building, electricity, all that stuff goes up. That stuff you can't really cut, because I'll turn around and ask you, what are you gonna cut at your house to save some money in your own pocket? You gonna cut back on groceries? No, you gotta eat, right? These guys can't cut back on the lights, they can't cut back on the diesel to get the fire trucks up and run into a fire or medical because grandma's she's fell, she can't get up, something's happened. In my neighborhood, I've got an elderly that live in my neighborhood. God forbid, we cut the service for the fire department. Poor lady's sitting there struggling, she can't get up. My next door neighbor, his house catches on fire. We gotta be realistic when we're asking what we're gonna cut. You know, the candidate next door here, Jim, he had mentioned about the fire department not having a boat. I don't know nothing about that. For me, things have to go and be retired and new things have to come in. I'm not gonna sit here and have a kid drowning, a 3-year-old drowning in a lake right next door, and I'm waiting for Anoka County Sheriff to get their boat up and running, hooked up to a trailer to come out here. That's time wasted. Our department's right there. Our firefighters will get there faster to get that 3-year-old and save a life. I'm done, because he's gonna raise that side.
Thank you, Ram. Tanner?
Thank you. Unfortunately, I do side on the fact that I don't know where in the budget specifically that we can take away at this moment. One of the bigger scares that I see, and although I very much appreciate and respect the current city council and the great job they did on this year's budget, but I also know that they used all of our rainy day fund to help keep our levies down, which is great. This is a time of need where everyone needs to try to keep money in their pocket. But the reality is that it's also kicking the can down the road. And this next 4 years, we have a major challenge of trying to make sure that that can, when we get back to it, we're able to afford it. And we don't have to put as much on the residents. And although I'm not saying we need to have skyscrapers and huge grandiose developments to help cover that cost, but development is a vehicle to be used and trying to use it in the right way. And that's, again, where I go back to having development in the right places at the right times. And again, that doesn't mean getting rid of every farmland, but if a landowner chooses to sell, that's his right to choose to sell. Why we've tried to do the best we can to make sure when the developments come in, that they're done in a good, concise manner that's relative to the existing neighborhoods we have. And again, I'll go back to the asset that is the Highway 65 corridor. You know, within that short distance left and right of it, we could make use of that. You know, again, we have some infrastructure here. We have to pay for it. And to me, that's our best avenue to do it. I don't want to change the entire city by any means, but I want to make use of the best assets that we have in the best ways that we can. And we can all still continue to live the way we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
I don't think we're looking for development to help pay per se. Just like you can't pick your neighbor who's gonna move in next to you, like Tanner said. If somebody sells land and a developer buys it or a company buys it and wants to build it and they meet all the zoning, then that's what it is. They're a private company, just like you're a private resident. If somebody wants to move in next to you, that's their right. As long as it's done correctly. As far as the budget goes, I think the city's been doing a fairly good job. I haven't looked deep into the budget. I have looked at it. I can tell you that there are needs, wants, and I think we even need to add necessities. Sometimes there are necessities that need to be paid for. Just because it's a need, it might be a need to Jim, but it's not a need to me, it's a want. So even there's even a distinction between those two things. I think development would help pay for this water system and sewer system. Good, bad, or ugly, it is here, it is what it is. And if it benefits us to get development to help pay for it and use it, we should do that, because bills are coming due. The more people we have on it, the cheaper it'll be for us in the long run. So it's probably gonna be more to remove it than it is to keep it. So I know it's not a great subject, but it is here, it is, we have it. Let's do the best we can with it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tim?
Regarding our budget, I think there's always going to be a fine line between what we pay for our services here and are we getting the best value. It has to be weighed out so the citizens are protected first and foremost. I know as a new council member, if elected, we're inheriting numbers that are pretty high. Levy numbers, we've got bonds that are probably coming due. It's not pretty in any way, shape, or form. In terms of what they do with the budget, I couldn't tell you honestly whether they did a great job, a good job, a mediocre job, but I know I don't like what's happening with my taxes and what I'm paying. When I look at it as a resident, I work very hard for my money. I want someone sitting here that's going to work equally hard to protect that money and that investment. Can it be done? I'm going to find out. I'm going to ask that question. I'm going to listen to people who are tired of forking out more and more and getting less and less. The fact that this city is going to grow, which is inevitable, does not mean that we have to be stepped on in the process. We should be rewarded for living here. We've created this type of town and what we have, and I want to protect it. And working with the budget means you got to crawl into it, you've got to understand it, you've got to do everything you possibly can to make sure that you're not spending someone else's money, because in reality you're spending yours, and I don't want to. Thank you.
Okay, next question starts with Kevin. I'll ask a question. Kevin, or council members, I'm gonna ask a question first. Tell us your main objective for running for council and how you plan to achieve that goal.
That's a good question. Well, it is. After living out here a long time, I felt, particularly as someone who's retired and with a lot of experience, it was just my turn to step up. I can afford the time. And so it was just a duty, you know. As far as it's the main objective, it would be to restore the faith of the people of East Bethel in their government. If I had one simple objective, that would be it. And as far as how that's measured, bring back the public forum, everything, every archived document of this city should be available through the website. You shouldn't have to go to a staff member of the city like they're a gatekeeper of a tomb where all the sacred documents are kept to get information. Friends of mine recently had a heck of a problem with their septic system. Finally, it worked out, but it was because the city couldn't find a document. There are serious laws regarding the handling of public documents, and they're there for a reason, because those documents are legal. Fortunately, Olson's Septic and Sewer Service came forward with the documents and said, no, we did the work, we got the permits and all that, and eventually it worked out. But I've been doing a deep dive on these municipal bonds that we have, and I didn't even bother trying to go through the city because I knew it would take forever to get it, and so instead I went directly to the electronic municipal market access program online, where you can look up any municipal bond from their origin. It shows all the documents behind it and everything. Much more efficient, but you should be able to get that kind of information through the city website. That would help restore their confidence that they want to hear what we want as speaking as citizens, and they'll respond to it, whether they agree or not. At least they'll acknowledge that they're listening to what we want. That's it.
Thank you, Kevin. Jim,
Can you repeat the question, Brad?
tell us your main objective for running for council and how you plan on achieving that objective.
I think my main objective is transparency, honesty, and stop wasteful spending. I know, like I said, I have my own business and I don't waste. And most of all, too, I don't lie to people. And like I've said before, a lot of residents have told me they just give up on the city, and I don't want that. I want to bring that back where they trust the city and the city leaders, so they feel that they can come here and they're comfortable and they're not afraid to come here. So many people that I talk to, they're just like, it's a waste of time. And I don't like to hear that at all, because that tells me that we're not doing our jobs. And trust is important to me. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Jim. Ram?
My main objective is gonna be serving you guys, listening, be that ears. Because apparently, from everything I'm hearing from the folks that's lived here for so long, and I'm just a newcomer, you guys are tired of the same old, just falling on deaf ears. That's not what it's about with me. So I think my main thing is to reach out to you guys, whether it's social media, whether it's coming into City Hall, setting up times for meetings, whatever it is, just to hear you guys vent and listen to everybody's problems and come up with a plan for all those problems. Because in the end, it's not us, it's the problem. And if we all work together, we can all tackle the problem. So, that's it.
Thank you, Ram. Tanner?
Thank you. Well, as we stated earlier, some of our main objectives, and one of mine was that clear communication. I also want to bring back that ability to have a positive dialogue with the residents, so there is this transparency. To be honest, I really don't know where it fell and where it falls short. To the best of my ability, all I can do is make myself available for that open dialogue, make sure that your voice is heard, your opinion is. At the same point, I also encourage anybody, anytime you have questions, concerns, please do come to the public forum, whether it's in its current state, any future states. That's the opportunity to be heard in front of everyone and not just one individual, and then being able to be active. So again, my objective as a city council member would be, like I said, to bring back that positivity, that open communication, so that there's not the negativity, there's not the question marks of what is or isn't happening. You don't have to hear from 3 different residents, 3 different answers of what happened the night before. And we're very fortunate that we have some technology that do allow for some of this, whether it be the televised meetings, the recorded minutes. And then I'll just lastly touch on something Kevin said, that I agree, all documents should be available online. And unfortunately, about 10 years ago, it came before the city of trying to cut money in the budget, and one of the things they cut was a fish mail system. And that's a system that the city had that would have allowed for the scanning of documents and put it all available, categorized online. And when that was an item that came up and it said, you know what, this isn't needed, we don't need it, let's cut it, move on. We're not doing anything with it. And I'll be honest, at that time, I didn't agree. I don't agree with it now. And I would like to see that come back as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner. Mark?
I think the main objective is to have the city run at its best. When the city's running good, and it's not just city council, and that's city council on down, city council, parks, public works, even fire department. That's when we know we're running at our best. That's where we'll find out where we can run at. And yes, then we might be able to shave some off the budget based on how we're running. But the city needs to be running at its best first. And I agree, we need transparency. And like I said before, treat everybody the same. Then there's no discrepancies. Commercial, residential wise, anybody that comes to council should be treated exactly the same regardless of what the issue is. And then there's no issue with how this person was treated versus this person. You're all East Bethel residents. You should all be treated the same regardless. Thank you.
Tim?
I think I'm running because I'm tired of the frustration. I know there's opportunities in this city to do better. I get together and talk with quite a few people, and it's a communication breakdown, and we can talk about transparency all day long. If you're not getting all the information, you're not truly transparent. Leave out one thing, you might hear it from somebody else, or somebody has to poke for it, and you lose the honesty, you lose the trust. This city is going to grow, and it should be the envy of everybody south of us, because we have something they don't have. That's a lot of elbow room. We have a lot of places up here that you can't even compare, you can touch to anything down south. It's okay to live by the Joneses, but it's not okay to try and copy them. And we have a strict budget, a smaller checkbook, and that checkbook is funded by everybody in this room, myself included. And I'm running not only to protect that checkbook, protect what I have in terms of the feel of the country out here, fresh air, where my kids are going to raise their grandkids. It's an opportunity to keep something special. We're adults here, we can talk about a lot of things, but what you want to talk about is the fact that this council is honest, that this council has faith and trust, that the people give that to us. The only way you're going to do that is to start once again with transparency, dig into what we're doing right now, and protect what we have. And that's from our houses to our pole barns, to our yards, to our checkbooks, because it's all one. I'm running because I care and I want to preserve that fact.
Thank you. And Wanda?
I'm running for a couple of reasons. One, I'd really like the opportunity to finish out the term that I was appointed to when our council member resigned. I feel strongly that your second, third, and fourth year are the years that you have a good feel for the city, and that's when you can start to make a difference. But secondly, I want to keep East Bethel vibrant and flourishing. Tim is right. We have a gold nugget here, and we need to keep it going in the right direction. We're not all going to agree on what we need, but we need to keep it moving forward. I want to keep this rural areas rural. I'm with Tanner. I want to try and keep the development into the Highway 65 corridor. That's where most of our industrial is, most of our zoning for businesses are. Let's attract some businesses that we want. Let's attract the necessities that we need as residents of East Bethel. That's what I'm running for.
Thank you. Next question?
My name is Channing Stowell, and I've been trying to get a zoning ordinance enforced for the last 6 months, and I find out it actually traces to a lack of enforcement from 2 years ago. My question is, what would you do to put teeth in the zoning ordinances of East Bethel so that we do maintain a rural area and our property values protected?
Could you tell us any more about it? About your particular situation?
Yeah, I have a neighbor who bought a property for $1 million, advertised as having a mother-in-law apartment on it, when clearly the laws of East Bethel say there's no residence and residential occupancy of an outbuilding is completely illegal. It turns out the previous owner
had some non-permitted building done, and he converted his garage into a luxurious apartment and sold that property as having a mother-in-law apartment on it falsely.
Thank you.
And nothing's happened, and the city has actually tried, but there's no teeth in our zoning laws here. We spend a lot of money on planning and zoning, but the laws are not enforced, and there's no penalty in there. One other thing, it traces back to the fact that this was uncovered 2 years ago as the man was doing his building, and nothing was done about it then. In there. So I'm kind of at wit's end as a personal thing, but I find out I'm not the only one who has trouble getting zoning enforced. I find out through some phone calls from council members today that this issue was brought up in May and deliberately tabled until after the election in terms of bringing in tougher enforcement laws. But anyway, my question is, what would you do about enforcement of zoning laws?
So Jim, this question goes to you. What would you do as a council member to enforce zoning policy?
Well, if we have a zoning policy in place, we should have people that are enforcing it. If they're not enforcing it, then we need to replace the people. Because if it's a legal document type thing, then we should be able to get the sheriff involved. And that process shouldn't be that hard to take care of. But if it's been 2 years and nobody's done anything, that tells me that the people that are working for us aren't doing their jobs. And if they're not doing their jobs, they need to be replaced. So that's how I'd handle it.
Thank you. Ram?
So I don't know nothing about this. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, say I know something about it, sir. One thing I will tell you though, rules and laws are set in place for a reason. You guys are griping about the budget for the city. That's gonna cost some money for the city to send somebody out there just to go enforce all these rules and regulation. If we end up hiring somebody just to do that, are we gonna sit here and complain that, oh, well, the city is doing this, they're spending the money here, they're spending the money there? This is something goes back to picking and choosing your battles. I don't know, I'm sure you've told your kids that, and I've been told that a lot of times in my life growing up, pick and choose your battles. For me, it's one of those things. If you have evidence of this happening, you need to present that evidence and let the process happen. If there is no evidence, unfortunately, there is not anything I can do or anybody on the council is gonna be able to do. It all falls back to evidence.
Again, but the question is in general, not specific to one person. What would you do as a council member to enforce zoning policy? Ram?
Zoning policies are there. If it's there, and like I said, if something's going on that you guys feel is fishy and it's not being looked at the right way, bring it up to us. That's why we are here, is to listen to what you guys have to say. Bring it up to us. We can forward it up the chain. If it was tabled at some point in time at your meetings, then I'm sorry that happened. That shouldn't be happening at all at any city council meetings. Come into a city council meeting and bring it up. Fight for what you know is right. Fight for your rights. You're a citizen here, do that. Just like I'm a citizen here. I'm fighting for your guys' vote right now, right? So I'm doing my part. Please, come to the council meetings and fight for it. That's the end.
Thank you. Tanner, again, it's a general question.
Yep.
What would you do to enforce zoning policy? Not to one specific person, as a whole.
Yep, thank you. As far as what we can do to put teeth in the ordinances, what we can do as city council members is when we are having these discussions, is making that decision to push the enforcement. Now, we do also have to weigh out what is the cost-benefit analysis in that enforcement. You know, there is a fine line there. How far do you take it? That doesn't mean you don't enforce it, but if we need to be making changes to the zoning ordinances or to other ordinances that include proper fines to make sure people are following it, then certainly. But if it's code enforcement as far as having to hire someone to go out and do that, we've done that. And it didn't get us anywhere. We didn't, you know, it costed us money as an employee. So yes, we do need to enforce it. We need to push our attorney to enforce these things and push them up to Anoka County so people are getting the proper fines and they know that this is or is not allowable, or red tag it if that's what it takes. But obviously if this is tabled and if I'm elected and it comes before us, we'll definitely be taking a look at it. We're not gonna be kicking the can down the road as some have said. So that's my plan as far as the ordinances go. If we need to open them up and look at them and modify them, then that's what we'll do. If there is a problem, we need to hear about it. So please bring it to us. Let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner. Mark?
Well, certainly, as we've all discussed budgets, I don't think the city needs to hire somebody to drive around the city, peeking in everybody's backyard, doing stuff like that. But obviously, on a complaint basis, yes, the city council and city need to look at that. And if work was done without permits, then we need to investigate, whether it falls under building or zoning. Again, it's like Tanner said, it's how much do we want to invest in this? Because if it's somebody that has a chicken coop that's just 2 feet where it shouldn't be, is that really worth the city's effort to go out and fight that battle? Versus a 20 by 40 pole barn that's 20 feet in the wrong location. So you really have to weigh the options and look at it, but it should be looked at and investigated. And make sure that things are done correctly. And it may end up going to court. The city may have to take that resident to court. But that's a slippery slope. Like I said, we need to treat everybody the same. So think of yourself. I mean, I'm sure everybody's had something that's somewhat not code compliant at one point. It may not be an apartment, but it may be landscaping, a shed, or something like that. You know, we need to look at that. We need to take it as a, how much money does the city need to invest into this complaint? Thank you.
Thank you. Tim?
Yeah, first off, I'm sorry that's happening to you. You would think with 612 pages of ordinances for the city alone, that shouldn't slip by anybody. I think it should be dealt with. It should be dealt with the way it's written. I think we pay enough for what we pay for protection services and legal services, and we have committees for just about anything here. Instead of creatively finding ways to spend everyone's tax dollars, I think we need creatively ways to protect ourselves, protect the ordinances. And if it's an ordinance that doesn't make sense, who made the ordinance? City council did. So we can change it, so we can make it right. Nothing is ever set in stone. And that's what I would do. That's how I would look into it.
Thank you, Tim. Wanda?
I feel, Brad, I'm sorry, I feel like I need to address this. I'll address it broadly, but I also need to address it individually here. On the broad side of things, we do have ordinances in place for, as you said, 612 pages of them. The problem with ordinances are you need to have a way to enforce them. And some of our ordinances are written without enforcement in it. In Mr. Stowell's case, we have done what we can do. We have fined the owner, we have re-fined him, we have fined him 3 times. He has chosen not to pay the fines, and it's now in the court system. That's where it is. Now, anybody sitting in this room knows the court system can drag on and on and on. That I will address, and it did not get tabled in May. What got tabled in May is an enforcement rule that was brought up and discussed, and that rule is abatement. Abatement is a law that is on the books in a lot of states, a lot of cities, a lot of counties that if a problem is a nuisance problem, what is considered a nuisance problem, abatement can be used for the city to go in, take care of the problem, and tax or add the cost of this to the homeowner. That is what's missing in our ordinance, is teeth. And we do need to look at some of these, because I don't want to live next door to somebody like Mr. Stallwell is living next door to. I don't want to live next door to a house that has 8 junk cars. The word is abatement.
Thank you, Wanda. Kevin?
My question, with at least 4 members, current members of the city council in the room, is why do we have ordinances that have no teeth? What good are they then? They're just suggestions, is that it? I mean, I live on Coon Lake, and some guy got a drag line in a number of years ago and created his own channel and everything. I think he paid a $1,200 fine for, transforming the shoreline of Coon Lake considerably. I understand you got to balance between, do you want to tie up a lot of money in court and a lot of people time and all that, but you have to have some kind of teeth to ordinances, otherwise they're worthless. You know, I live not far from somebody who, I wish they only had eight junk cars on their property. Maybe with some help we could get it down to 8.
Let's figure that out.
Yeah. But you know, it's a tough balancing act. I'm not going to pretend I know the answer here, other than you have to have some form of teeth. Whether it's you add it to the property tax, it's a special addition to the property tax. It's what the law would allow. What the law would allow, I should say.
Thank you, Kevin. Next question from the audience?
It's nice to see so many new faces. I hope that everybody will come to the town hall meeting next month.
Thank you.
My name is Denise Lashinsky, and my question is, because this whole thing's bringing me down, what is one thing that you feel is the best example of East Bethel?
Thank you.
Was up to the mayor.
The question is, what is one thing that you can say is the best thing about East Bethel? Correct?
Correct.
Question goes to Ram. What is, in your opinion, the best thing about East Bethel?
You know, I want to tell you thank you for asking that. I really appreciate that. That put a smile on my face. It's the people. Where I live, I can ask my neighbors for help. The first day I moved in, heck, not even the day I moved in. I'm in the process of building my house, and I have neighbors already offering to help do things. It's the coming together. That's what I admire about this city. And I think we need more of that. Where I came out of the cities, I don't even know who my neighbor is. You go months without seeing them. You can say hi to them. They look at you like, don't talk to me. Go back in the house. Out here, I can, even this afternoon, I did that to one of my neighbors. Yelled across the street, hey, how's it going? You see this? Yeah. There's a sheriff sitting down there too. All right, cool. Good enough for me. That's what I like. I want to be able to wake up in the mornings and just yell across the street to my neighbors and say hi and go over there and have my kid go across the street and talk to them. And we need to all just come together. And I think that's what the city is showing, is the willingness to help. I'm a minority, as you guys can tell, right? Whatever, right? I think I fit more in up here than I do down in the cities where I'm from. And that says a lot. And I really, really appreciate that. Everybody is so welcoming. And yeah, thank you so much for asking that question. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Tanner?
Yes. Thank you. I really can't follow that up. No, really, you take a lot of words out of my mouth. The residents are definitely one of the best parts. And again, I won't regurgitate everything you just said. Like I said, you said it. Yeah, exactly. But what I will share is, I know for me, one of the things I know on a daily basis, and I drive into the cities for work, but when I come home, I know I can go from gridlock traffic I can put on 180 miles, whether I gotta bring kids to school, go to work, come home. But I can tell you, when I cross into East Bethel, I know the difference. I can see the trees, I can see my neighbors, I can see people have yards. I don't see grids of homes over and over and over. And I don't wanna confuse anybody tonight by me bringing up things like development. When I talk about development, I'm talking about preserving how it looks currently. If it has to expand, let's try to keep it in the similar fashion that we can. But that's the best part about East Bethel, is we can still be as rural as we want to be. We can still be great neighbors that we can talk to across the street or from across the other end of the end of the town. So really, the best thing about East Bethel is the people, and it is the place. It's where we're at. We can all see it visually, we can all feel it, and you all wouldn't be here if you didn't have the same passion for it. So I'm just gonna take an extra second here and recommend really anybody that's here tonight at home watching, if you have the passion for the city, if you truly care, get involved any way you can. I'm up here 13 years later because I called about a residential road on my street that I had a question on, and Jack said, you know, you should really come in and talk to the roads committee. And here I am 13 years later sitting up before everybody tonight. So really, get involved. I can't ask you enough. That's how you get the transparency. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tanner. Mark?
Probably, I think I'd like to look at it as we're a big city with a small town feel. Everybody knows a lot of people. I like to say that we're all kind of 6 degrees from everybody in this room in some way, shape, or form. Whether through the fire department, kids playing sports, kids going to school, neighborhoods. I feel like East Bethel is a really tight-knit, small community, but yet we're a big city, land-wise. I just gotta say, it's a great city to raise kids in. I raised 2 boys here, and they turned out great. They've met some great people. They have some great friends, and by that, the wife and I have made some new friends through them. And I don't think that would have happened in a bigger city. So, yeah, East Bethel is just a good city all around, through and through. Thank you.
Tim?
You talked about the people, spot on. You talked about what it looks like when you drive into East Bethel, spot on. I like the deer in the fields. I like seeing the turkeys, as nuisance as they can be, but I like seeing them. I like seeing an eagle fly down Cedar Creek. These are all things that you're right, you won't get anywhere else. It's the best of both worlds. We have a city that we can sit into and sit out at night, and if we're lucky, we'll hear cars or a truck occasionally go down 65. Can't do that anywhere else. Those are the great things about this city, and being able to wave to neighbors on a regular basis. You can't touch that.
Wanda?
East Bethel is a gem. It's this diamond in the rough, sitting in the middle of all this other development. Our friends to the south are who knows what. Our friends to the north are starting to get as built up and as developed as our friends to the south. We are 40 plus acres of just underdeveloped, I should say, genius. When we moved here 10 years ago, we looked at a lot of places. East Bethel fell into what we were looking for. It was within close proximity to the cities. You could get anywhere within an hour. We are this gem. We need to nurture this gem and do everything we can to keep the rural, develop what we need, the amenities that other cities our size have, and move forward.
Kevin?
Somebody asked me one time, well, how would you define rural? And I said, well and septic. That's what rural is to me. We've lived on well and septic for better part of 40 years that we've been married. And it is a beautiful place to live because you can have that peacefulness. And over on Coon Lake, we have the bald eagles, we have the sandhill cranes cruising by. And you're within commuting distance of the cities. It's a great place to live. And that's why we all like it. That's why we all want to keep it nice. And you can have development. We just don't need everybody to live on top of each other. I want to say something on that score. With the water and sewer thing, it makes sense to have public unit developments near that system, near 65, and that's a good thing. And the Mundels have been part of that. There's a Stone group that's doing that. It makes a lot of sense. In other parts of the city, you can have an acre or 2 or 10 or 100, whatever, and that makes sense too, and you don't lose the character of the city. So as much as I'm not really a big fan of comprehensive plans and stuff, our city plan does make sense in the sense of the development around 65 and let the rest of the city develop in a more organic way. And I agree with that. Thank you.
Jim?
The rural feeling is why I like it, and the animals. Where I live, I have a patio door and I feed the deer in the winter. And I did that for years, and my grandkids watch them. I mean, it's just like watching TVs that are so close to you. And the deer even get to the point where the little grandkids will run up there and knock on the window, and they just look at them like, forget it, just start eating corn again. But even my great-grandkids are doing that now, and it's really cool because it's a great place to live, and it's neat. I love the animals. The people are great, and the rural.
Thank you, Jim. Next question up first is Tanner. I'll ask it. What would you do as a council member to not make it so hot in here right now?
Take your shirt off.
Well, first and foremost, I need Jack to go to the thermostat.
Thank you. So I've heard a lot of words thrown around tonight about integrity and honesty and transparency as being important qualities to you. But I do have one question. If because of inappropriate deeds, words, or actions that any one of you had done, if somebody was on any one of our commissions and they were thrown off for their deeds, words, and actions, should they be disqualified from running for city council? I understand that to run, all you simply need to be is a resident, but I do think that there are reasons to be disqualified. So I was curious of your thoughts on that. I don't know who's first on this one.
So I think the question is, do you believe it's a disqualification for city council if you've been thrown off of or excused for inappropriate conduct on any other commission within the city? First, this one goes to Tanner.
Thank you. Well, it is a hard question to answer, and I appreciate you asking it. It is, my answer is going to be two-sided. Yes, personally, I do feel that if you are a council member, committee member, again, myself being in planning and zoning for years, we've had instances come up over the years where we've had other council members, whether it be past or present, and I remember the conversations always being that, when you sit up here, when you're elected, or whether you're nominated by council or chosen, you do need to be held to a higher standard. And that standard is exactly what's in the codes, what you're elected to do. With that said, though, one of the big issues that we do come across a lot of times, and I think maybe this is where some of the confusion comes in with residents, is what we would like personally versus what we legally have to allow. I know another council member brought up something like CST, and I'll just touch extremely briefly on that. That was a very big instance of we needed to let the process happen. Legally, there's nothing wrong with them applying. Legally, there's nothing wrong with them going through the process. We had to let that process happen. And fortunately, the process did show, and it did prove to the residents that it wasn't a fit, it didn't fit, and it's not there today. And I can be proud to say that I was a part of making sure that we did that correctly. So to finish answering the question, because the law allows it, yes, they should be allowed to run because that's what's currently on the books. But personally, do I feel that you should be above reproach? Yes, yes, I do. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So currently, everybody was first to ask the question to. I think now we'll move into closing statements. Mark started tonight with an opening statement, so Tanner, that would go to you for a closing statement.
All right, thank you. Well, here we are, end of the night. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with the heat, the comments, the repeat comments.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, Brad, we didn't get to answer that question.
He started the question.
He started.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
I'm sorry, Brad.
Pause.
Yes, thank you.
Can I get my closing statement done now and just be done for the? No, I'm kidding. No.
Not hardly, Tanner.
Oh. Gotta ask.
First, I'd like to apologize. You're gonna have to put up with the heat for a little bit longer, but to answer your question, I think it should be taken on a case-by-case basis. I've never been in a committee as far as planning, zoning committee, or road committee, but I'm sure sometimes they get heated and elevated and people say things they shouldn't. But if they were excused or reprimanded on that committee for actions or words, should they run? Probably not. Like Tanner says, I feel that if you're going to run, you should be held to a higher standard. Now, legally, can we prevent that? Probably not. And that may not be something a city ordinance can change. That may have to come from the state as far as election laws. So it's not a simple question. I think a lot of people up here are going to say, no, they shouldn't run based on integrity and whatnot. Can they run? Yes. If the law allows it, then we have to let the process play out. Again, fair and equal treatment across the board. So until the laws are changed that would prevent it, then we have to treat them the same as all the other candidates. Thank you.
Tim?
I think that's not quite a case-by-case kind of scenario. I think I already know, and I think you already know what the case would be, even if the person ran for office after having that happen. You're right, there's probably nothing that's going to prevent anyone from running for that. What's going to prevent someone from getting office is that, and that's an accountability for their actions. Unfortunately, this position requires a lot of trust, and there's no room really for error in that nature, regardless of what case or what instance it might be. Feel sorry for the person, but at the same time, they can always get involved here, coming to council meetings and so forth if they want to be a part of it. But I don't think we have room for error right now to allow stuff like that to happen.
Wanda?
I also agree that there is probably nothing by law that could be done if a person has been censured or asked to leave a committee. But one of the things I said sitting up here is you have to have integrity and you have to be true to yourself. And if you've been asked to leave a committee, you've been censored, I would have a very hard time sitting up here and expecting you to hold me to a higher standard. That's all I have.
Thank you. Kevin?
It's interesting, we have a code of conduct for employees for the city, and they do background checks before people are hired and all that. Who does that for the city council, for the appointees on the Economic Development Authority or the Planning Commission, et cetera? Nobody. So I've wondered about that recently. I said, no, there should be background checks. But as far as a committee, a certain commission, authority, whatever, and somebody gets censured or tossed off because they misbehaved, that's irksome and all that kind of stuff. But again, legally, I don't think you can prevent them from running for office, which is a different thing than an appointed position. But what I do think should preclude people from serving as a lawmaker, even if it's at the most local level, is someone who's a scofflaw, someone who has a criminal record of repeated offenses against the laws of the state or the federal government or the local ordinances. That is not somebody who should be sitting in this position. They show a blatant disregard for other people. So that's my opinion.
Thank you. Jim?
I feel that that's not a reason at all for somebody to run for a different position if they were removed from another position because they were willing to stand up for what they believed and what they did was correct in their mind. And a lot of people won't do that. And I feel that that person there probably did it, but I don't hold nothing against him at all. I figure that's an integrity thing on his part or her part, whatever the case may be, but I don't hold it against them at all.
This isn't an
Oh,
open
really?
forum, sorry.
Okay,
So
you want to
it's
hear
not open
that?
forum.
Then you and me will talk. I'll tell you the truth. Because I told the truth. That's why.
Ram?
All right.
Get your facts straight.
For me, I would have to say it shouldn't be something that holds somebody back, but if it is, if you know deep down that you did something wrong, you got to own it. Like for me, hey, I think we all got to pass, right? I can't look at any one of you guys in this room and say, I don't think none of y'all did something wrong. Hell, a speeding ticket's even considered wrong in my book. So whatever you did wrong, you own it, move on from it, show some growth, take years and have 10, 15 years away from it and then come back and you can run. I don't think we should be able to stop anybody from running for office. It's legally, you can't do it. If you want to spend the money to, blackmail or badmouth that individual, that's on you. I don't recommend doing that. I don't think anybody's worth that time or that kind of money to do that. But no, integrity, principle, fight for the principle. For me, I'm a person of principle. I'll sue a man for a penny just to get a point across. That's just me. Yeah, just be honest to yourself and you don't have to lie about nothing. Come clean and, people that tell the truth are the ones that are looked at like, okay. The ones that are looked at when you tell a lie, definitely people question you. I don't want to sit next to somebody. If you lie, please don't talk to me. So it's just that simple. Because I can't believe nothing you say. Even if you say sorry, that you're a person that'll say sorry for everything you've done in your life, and the one person that you say sorry to have not checked you yet to tell you, your sorry means nothing to me. Because your words have nothing. If you don't want to follow your own words, why should I listen to what you got to say? That's the end of that.
Well, thank you. Okay, closing with statements, we'll start with Tanner, and we'll allow up to 3 minutes for this.
All right, thank you. Again, I'll repeat my intro. Again, thank you all very much for putting up with the heat and going and participating tonight, and very much welcomed all the questions. I actually appreciated the format tonight. It was a nice change of pace. But with that said, again, my name is Tanner Balfany. I'm running for City Council. Again, I'll repeat part of my bio. I have plenty of history working with the city, with residents, as a resident. I have a passion for this city. I want to see a great place for my children to grow. I've got a 10, 13, and a 16-year-old. They've got plenty of years to see what this city what it is and what it can continue to be, and utilize all the resources within it, whether it's Coon Lake, Cedar Creek Preserve, R.D. Mickelson, all of it. It's here, it's available, and it's a great place to be. It is a wonderful place to live. I want to keep it that way. Now again, we can't prevent landowners from selling, I don't want to see us have 6 and 8% increases in budget in 3 to 4 years down the road. So we need to look at the tools that we have available for us, make sure we can develop in the right areas, the right ways, make it work for everyone, and continue to listen to our residents. And I'll go back to my biggest part of all of this. Please take away, I want the communication and the dialogue to be positive between residents and amongst the residents and amongst the commissions, the boards, the city, and all the employees. There's no reason that we shouldn't be able to listen to each other, have a dialogue. We don't have to agree. We don't. But please have enough respect to be understanding that their point of view might be different than yours. And again, allow processes to happen. Sometimes we don't always agree, we don't always know, but we have to do what's in front of us, what's legal, what's right, and if it's not, we can look at changing it. There's nothing wrong with having the conversation. Don't ever be afraid to bring it up. My door and my phone is always open. It has been for, like I said, the 13 years I've been involved in city doings. My number's been out there and available. Always happy to take a call and have a conversation. Thank you very much for your consideration. I please ask for your vote on November 8th for City Council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tanner. Mark?
My name is Mark Duchesne again. I'm running for City Council. The city's a good city, like I said before. Through and through, we're a good city. We have that small town feel. Nobody wants to change that. We just want to help it along the way. We're not going to change your residential areas. We're going to change the 65 area. People want a grocery store. Some people want a grocery store. That's going to happen at some point. It just takes time. And we need to move forward towards that. We need to be a better city council. Nobody up here has the power to change. It has to be a group. You have to work with everybody that's up here to get change done. Not one person up here has a single power to do just change by themselves. So we all need to work together for the better of the city. I'm not looking to change anybody's lot size, anything like that. I'm just here to get this city moving forward, hopefully in a good, positive direction with good communication, transparency, and fair treatment for everybody. Mark Duchesne, running for City Council. Thank you.
Tim, closing statement.
Yeah, in closing, I'd like to say thank you to my neighbors, my friends, my wife, for talking me into doing this. I've learned a lot about myself and a lot about this city over the last 6 months. I've met a lot of great people door knocking. I've been bit by a dog. I've fallen into a ditch. And I've tripped over somebody's flower pot, which I paid for because I'm a good neighbor. This city is very big. It's what, the 6th largest in this state in terms of size at what, 44, 48 square miles.
Square miles.
That's a lot. But we have a checkbook that's adjacent to 12,000 people and need to stay within that. I'd like to be a part of something that brings a team to this city. Something that sets up something for the future, because there's going to be other teams besides this one that's going to be elected that has a common goal, not only as a group of 5 or 4 individuals up here, but a common goal with the city. Right now, we might be on different roads, and it may be difficult to see that the common goal might be the same. But I believe that council, working with the Chamber of Commerce and a lot of other influences around us, like the people, are going to change that and set a standard for something new. It has to change. And this November, you have an opportunity to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Wanda?
Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Denise. My closing is about reminding us of all the positive things that drew us to East Bethel. The unlimited outdoor opportunities. We have Coon Lake. We have the investment of the university in Cedar Creek, Carlos Avery, Beaver Brook, golf courses, Frisbee golf courses, 17 city parks, and the ice arena. We have unlimited wetlands. We have outdoor areas. We have old established farms, acres of undeveloped property. We have room for future growth. Reasonably priced single-family homes with these ordinances we're talking about that limit the size. They have to be big acre lots in our rural areas. We have multifamily. Our multifamily is limited to the Highway 65 corridor. You won't have an apartment building next to you on Sims and University. It just, well, maybe Sims and University, Sims and further west. It just won't happen. We have had and will have one of the lowest tax rates in the northern Anoka County. It's been consistently 2%. It will be less than 1% for the upcoming tax season. We have low crime in comparison and high graduation rates. It's a great place to live. But with the good comes challenges. We're the growing, as we said, 40 square mile area city with Highway 65 and Viking Boulevard dissecting us into 4 quadrants. These 4 quadrants are not equal, and each has its unique, really unique needs. We have the Coon Lake Beach area and the lakefront community, each with its own challenges. Yes, we're missing amenities, some basic amenities that other cities our size have. They come with growth. As a council member, I believe our job is to take the uniqueness of each situation and balance the needs of you, our residents, and businesses to the needs of East Bethel's future growth. Keep rural, attract the right development in the corridor, communicate the issues, and I ask for your involvement. I want to be part of the solution, not dwell on the past. I want to look for new ways to move East Bethel forward without sacrificing all the positive things that initially drew me to this city. I ask for your vote on November 8th.
Thank you, Wanda. Kevin?
Thank you for that recitation, so I don't have to do it. Thank you, Brad, and thank the East Bethel Chamber of Commerce for putting this on. Thank all of you for your time tonight. Room's warm. Fortunately, I don't have a t-shirt on, so I'm okay. But I think you've gotten a sense for who I am, where I'm coming from, and my answers so far. So in the interest of getting out the door sooner rather than later, thank you.
Jim, closing our discussion.
I'm Jim Smith again, running for council. And I will tell you that I will tell you the truth. A lot of people won't want to hear it, but I'm here for the residents big time. And I'll always be here for you, and I'll listen to you. I'll work with the council members that are here, and we're going to do the right thing. In my opinion, the city is in debt to, it's terrible, big time, for a small population that we have. And I will work hard to try and figure out which way we can move forward and stop spending. So I'm here for you. November 8th. I'll be here for you after that if you vote for me. Thank you.
And Ram?
Well, I guess I'm best for last. That's a lot of pressure. Thank you guys all for coming out. I'm fresh in the boat in politics. I know nothing. So I got a lot to learn. I'm a pretty fast learner. Yeah, changed job just about a month ago and I'm already on the ground running. So voting for me, you guys, you can talk to me however you want to talk to me because I got my attitude is simple. I don't want you to treat me the way I want to be treated. I want you guys to treat me the way you want to be treated. So if you're going to come to me crooked, I'm going to treat you crooked. And that's the honesty that's coming out of me. That's the city in me. It's not the old school way. That way's changed with me. So if I'm going to treat you like a jerk, I expect you to turn around and treat me like one too, because that's me asking to be treated like that. So if you're going to come to me being an ASS, sorry, I'm going to have to come to you doing the same thing because I'm a man of principle. So you vote for me, yell at me, scream at me, tell me all your problems. I'm more than happy. I'm not gonna be like Tanner and say my phone's on all the time or my door's open all the time. I don't want you guys coming over there at 2 o'clock in the morning yelling and complaining about stuff. Please don't, because you're gonna wake up my baby. I moved in this city. When we were looking for a house, I tell you, I told the wife, I said, nope, Andover is the furthest I was willing to go. That was the furthest I was willing to go. Then we took a drive up here, and I was like, man, are we ever gonna get to where we're going? Like, this feels really long. But that's the beauty about living up here, right? That's the amazing beauty of living up here. Like Tanner said, when I leave the city, trust me, I leave for work in the morning early, and it's a pain as soon as I get. You can tell where where Andover starts. Let me just go there. You can tell where Andover starts and where East Bethel ends. That's the difference right there. My wife, she complains. She works in Minneapolis downtown. The traffic is so bad. Oh, I don't want to drive it. Yeah, well, deal with it. We live up here. There's the reason we moved up here. As soon as you get to a certain part, boom, done. There ain't no traffic. What's that? No stress. I can feel that stress lift right off of me. I hate driving. I hate dealing with the traffic, dealing with all the stupids on the road. I think we all do that, though. But, yeah, vote for me. I got your best interests at heart. I'm honest. I shoot straight from the hip. You ain't got no problems with me lying. What I tell you is what I tell you. If you don't like it, then find somebody else to tell you what you really want to hear, because I'm not the one to tell you what you want to hear. I tell you what you need to know. That's it. Thank you. Thank you guys all. Drive safe. Be safe going home.
Okay, well, on behalf of the East Bethel Chamber of Commerce, my board members that are here and present, I want to thank you for your attendance, candidates. Thank you for spending your time here tonight and making sure we educate the voters. For the attendees here, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Drive safe.
Thank you.